Good afternoon, and thank you for joining in today. My name is Melissa Miller, host of The Chosen Heroes. I hope that everyone is doing well. If you're in the chat, can you give me a shout out? We've got some weather going on here in Texas. I want to make sure that everybody can hear me. Hi, Greenville, Nix. You're in Texas as well. So glad that you could join in. Not sure why. Again, we had a repeat problem from last time. My intro did not roll out as expected, but it is what it is, and we're going to go with it. We have a very special guest, and her name is Wendy, and she's going to share her targeting journey with us. You will find that she is an absolute delight, and she's a spiritual warrior, and she embodies what it is to survive and thrive within this experience, to not relent and to keep going and to keep pressing. So let's kick off our broadcast with targeted justice news and review for this week.
The new guy in charge of special access programs is General Derek O'Malley. He swore an oath to the U.S. Constitution, not the deep state. The Targeted Individual Program is an unacknowledged special access program, or USAP, that reports to O'Malley. Major General Derek Maestro O'Malley is the director of the Department of Defense. Special Access Program Central Office, the Pentagon, Arlington, Virginia. He serves under the authority, direction, and control of the Deputy Secretary of Defense. For all programs protected under special access controls in order to acquire and deploy operational and intelligence capabilities to warfighters worldwide.
Distribute flyers to urgent care and emergency clinics. Medical doctors need to know what is happening. Just walk into the clinic and give the flyer to the front desk. Do your best to leave a copy with a minimum of 10 to 20 clinics. Say the following: "Can you please share this with your doctors and nurses? It's important." You can find clinics on maps.google.com. Just search for urgent care. You can do this.
Apparently they did not like our newsletter last year where we exposed the leaders of USAPs. Check out the newsletter regarding General David Abba, dated back on October 6, 2024. New procedures were instituted several days before Trump took office on January 17, 2025. Is that suspicious? We doubt that Pete Hegseth has the security clearance to know what is going on. Reason being, he must get a clearance from O'Malley to know about the program. How messed up is that? President Trump must also get a clearance from O'Malley to know about the TI program. The security manual is clear on these procedures.
Calling all digital warriors. Please share, repost, copy and paste this video on all social media platforms. We are still looking for volunteers. Let us know how you can help and the skill sets that you have by emailing us at tjustice2@proton.me. Put volunteer in the subject line. You can watch targeted justice videos by going to the following link. Buy some cool gifts, shirts, hoodies, cups, keychains, and more by heading to the following links. Please consider donating. Targeted Justice is non-profit, and the donations are tax deductible. Thank you again for watching this video. God bless. God bless. God bless.
And shout out to Sean, as always, for doing such a wonderful job on the Chosen Heroes short videos and the Targeted Justice news. He does amazing, amazing work. I also want to give a shout out to Tranquility in the wonderful, beautiful job that she does in organizing all events that are TI related. Every day of the week, you can find a way to plug in, and you can visit www.tievents.org. And it's just amazing how much is out there, from podcasts to teleconferences to meetups. And again, if there's not a meetup within your area, then you could be the pioneer and create one. There's lots of information out there on how to do a meetup and to do it safely. I want to announce the next week's guest is going to be Jeremy Strayer. He's going to share his targeted journey with us. And on September 6th, I do co-host with Jamie Rice, the Beyond the Looking Glass, the Targeted Survivor Counterintelligence Training Bi-Weekly Teleconference Series, discussing the poly-sci methods on how to kickstart and your inner healing journey, because inner healing and awakening and self-empowerment and self-awareness is the kryptonite to these atrocities that are being done through us through the targeting program. Videos of this teleconference series is available on the Chosen Heroes YouTube channel. I want to also just again thank Sean. He has created a new X page called the Chosen Heroes Shorts Archives. He had a brilliant idea. He said that for people to be able just to get to those video clips, those key important moments with our special guests that afford a wealth of information and guidance in sharing their stories and what they've learned along the way. All of those are archived on this page, and it's at CH Shorts on X, and it's dedicated to nothing but the videos, the short videos from the podcast, those key morsels of great information that were afforded by those who participated as a guest and shared what they've learned in their targeted journey with us. And always, I am grateful for those who subscribe, follow, like, and share the content on the Chosen Heroes page, and all the other pages that I currently have going at this time. So thanks again. Before I bring our special guest up, I'm going to read her biography and then bring her on to the stage. So Wendi M was born in November of 1963 in Dallas, Texas, just one day before the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Her entrance into this world at Parkland Memorial Hospital, the very hospital where the president's body was brought, set the tone for a life that would be marked by synchronicity, secrecy, and spiritual undertow. And from an early age, Wendy's world was shaped by trauma. Her childhood was punctuated by severe abuse, emotional, physical, and sexual. She was raised under the heavy hand of a stepfather who may have been groomed for cruelty himself, and a mother unable to protect and nurture her. Yet amidst the trauma, Wendi emerged as a protector of others. She once saved a drowning boy, played in fields with butterflies and sunshine, and always felt the quiet presence of something watching, guiding her. Her adult life would bring no reprieve from the shadows. In 2007, Wendi moved to South Korea, and over the next 15 years, she would live in China from 2011 to 2012, Turkey from 2012 to 2017, Saudi Arabia from 2017 to 2022. Each relocation brought new landscapes, but also carried the same unshakable torment. She was being watched, manipulated, and ultimately targeted. Wendy came to understand that she had been entered into a global targeting program, what some call the TI targeted individual experience. It began with a man she trusted, a romantic partner who she believes covertly implanted devices into her body. These implants linked her to a web of advanced technologies, remote neural monitoring, voice to skull communication, electromagnetic torture through directed energy weapons, and artificial manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations. She was no longer free in mind, body, or spirit. Throughout these years, Wendy was relentlessly gang stalked, emotionally isolated, and spiritually tested. She came to believe that she had been selected perhaps for her empathic nature, her unusual bloodline of ORH negative, or her resistance to societal control mechanisms. She also came to know herself as a starseed soul genetically connected to the Arcturians and here to serve a mission of planetary awakening and peace. Despite the horror of her experiences, Wendy never surrendered her spirit. Her writings reflect a mind of extraordinary perception and a heart that still seeks love, justice, and understanding. She has documented her life extensively, every betrayal, every unexplained phenomenon, every layer of manipulation. She bears witness not just for herself, but for others who are waking up to similar truths. Wendi M is a survivor of an invisible war, a soul warrior who has walked through the psychological fire. Her story is not just about what was done to her, but about what she chose to become in spite of it. And she is still here. So without further ado, hi, Wendy. Thank you so much for joining us here today. It is such a privilege. And again, thank you on behalf of this beloved community.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much for having me as well. I'm a little nervous, so just bear with me. Listening to what you just said, it kind of took me back through everything. So just give me a minute to chill out here.
Yes, absolutely. I understand. And I want to mention to everyone that Wendy is the creator of the Butterfly Transmission. It's a podcast from a targeted life told through vision, trauma, and art. It is available for free on Spotify. You do not have to subscribe to Spotify to play all of the episodes. And I highly, highly encourage you to check it out. It is so beautifully articulated. Each and every one of us can sincerely resonate what is stated in this podcast. The link is up on the screen. I even have the QR code that you could scan with your phone. Hopefully it would work from the transmission here today, and it will take you directly to the Spotify page. So Wendy's targeting began in 2010, and that was with a chance encounter with an individual. But once history had been laid, the foundation, it kind of seemed like it was almost intentional, this encounter with this individual. Can you tell us where it all kind of started?
Sure. Well, it's hard to explain or kind of know exactly where it started, from the very beginning. But when I noticed that something was wrong was when I was in South Korea in 2010. It was the summer of 2010. And I noticed just really weird things happening to my body. weird sensations, of course, you know, feeling like something was connecting to my head or to my body. That was at night. And then during the day, I noticed that I was being followed around. So I had a little scooter in Korea, and I would, you know, go on different excursions, go to the mountains, and, you know, go and go climb up a mountain and kind of like write letters or whatever. And I just looked down from the mountain, and there was like a big long black car there. This happened quite a bit. You know, people stopping me in Korea, wanting to, you know, help me. And then really what they're doing is kind of guiding me, like in a video game, they're kind of guiding me, go here. They're gently nudging me, go here, go here. Previously, so in 2009, I had a surgery. The boyfriend that I was with, he kind of like kept touching my chin right here, as if, oh, you're getting a little you know, a little saggy right there, you know, you need some work done or whatever. So so the people that were around me at the time kind of guided me into the direction of a doctor. The doctor, we set up the appointment and everything, and the boyfriend was with me. He was staying with me in South Korea, and it was strange that the appointment was at night. It was 7 o'clock at night. So I went to the facility, and they and you know, I thought I was going to be out, like they were going to like put me out, but they didn't. They just numbed the area, so I was actually awake. What they did was cut me right here. Like I thought that's all they were going to do, is just kind of like do a little chin tuck or whatever. That's kind of like what I thought they were going to do.
Yeah.
The doctor, it was just a doctor and a nurse in the operating room, and come to find out, they cut me back here in my neck. And so I'm bandaged up and everything, and I go home, and you know, and the boyfriend takes me home or whatever. He's waiting in the waiting room the whole time. So I wasn't really out, but I couldn't feel anything. So the whole time I'm like praying, oh my God, you know, just the things you go through when you're being cut on like that, and you know you're awake and you're being cut on, you know. So that was the procedure in South Korea. I remember going to get my hair done, and the hairdresser looked back here, and he was horrified. Apparently, like whatever they did back here, they cut me from here to here. And he wouldn't do my hair. He was like, no, I'm not going to do your hair. And the whole time I'm thinking, what's going on? You know, why? I didn't understand why they cut me back here. And he said, oh, it's just because they gave you something extra or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. But apparently they put something back here, because when I was in China, I went to an acupuncturist, and the doctor could barely speak English, but he was trying to tell me, you have something back here in your neck, you know, and actually I could feel it as well, like something back there. And but he told me, and then I went back the next day, and of course the Chinese government was in the office, you know, because I'm like, is there something back there? Take it out, you know. I'm like, please take it out, you know. And then of course the next day the Chinese government were there, but it was very subtle, you know, but they let me know, and they let him know that they were there, you know. So so that's kind of like that's when I knew something was wrong. But let me back up to South Korea. So, I'm working at a school, and I walk to school every day. Well, not walk. I use my scooter to walk to school, or to drive to school. And I noticed this mannequin kind of like out in the street, and it was just kind of like a normal mannequin, you know, like nothing, no big deal. And then the next day I went, it was one of these mannequins that they use over in Asia for to put clothes on, to advertise their clothes and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
the next day I drove by the mannequin, and it was taped up like with duct tape and wire and cords and everything. And I was just like, whoa, that's really weird. Like,
Wow.
like, but I noticed it, and I, kind of was like, wow, that's really spooky, and
Mm-hmm.
so I started just feeling really weird there. Um, then it came to a point where I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. The director of the school came to my villa, and I said, listen, either you move me to another villa, because I thought it was my villa. I was thinking something's in here. It was a new place and everything. And,
Mm-hmm.
so to make this story kind of short, she didn't do anything for me. She didn't help me. She didn't, I'm like, please help me. There's something going on, all she did was like take me to a doctor. And I requested to go to a doctor. I'm like, can you take me to a doctor just to check me out and everything? And she did. And when I went to the doctor, I noticed that when I got under the granite beds that they have over there for alternative medicine, they have granite beds that you lay on. And so when I got under the bed, I noticed that the connection to my body went away, because I was being tortured everywhere I went. My apartment, I was being tortured at her house, because she
Just
said,
the directed energy, the pain that.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a very distinct
Mm-hmm.
pain. So I realized that it was a frequency, or it was something that could be stopped at some point. You could stop it in some ways. And I mean, when I was in the car, of course, it wasn't happening either. Over in Korea, I believe that they had the handheld devices that they could target you from wherever. They could, go into your building and target you in the next room. I believe that that's how that was. So I ended up, spending the night at a Buddhist temple, where there was an incident that happened there, where I woke up in the middle of the night, and there was a man outside. I walked outside, and there was a man outside, and he had one of those handheld devices and was pointing it in my direction. And when I came out, he was very angry, and he just kind of like put it in this bag and like threw it in the back of his truck and like went off. But yeah, and then in the middle of the night, they had like a Buddhist, prayer time. And so I went to the prayer thinking, well, maybe this will help, I mean, you think of everything,
Right.
or you're just trying to get rid of it. And there was a man that had come there after me, and apparently he was an alcoholic, and he was coming to the Buddhist temple kind of to get clean or whatever. And so he was also in the temple during the prayer service in the middle of the night. And I just know, I had my eyes closed, and I'm saying the Lord's Prayer because I don't know what they're saying, and I'm Christian, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying the Lord's Prayer. And he like had something on some kind of cloth, and he was trying to touch me with it, and I just freaked out. I'm like, what
Wow.
is he trying to do? Kill me? Everywhere I went, I was thinking they're trying to kill me, literally.
Yeah.
And so I wrote notes to my family. I said, I love you. I'm going to die. And I ended up going to a friend's house. He let me stay in his apartment, and he went and stayed at his girlfriend's apartment. And there again, I'm begging them, please stay with me, please, please help me. And they're like, why is this happening to you? And I'm a poker player, so they're like, did you get in with some Russian mob people? And I'm like, no, I didn't get in with anyway. So that night when I was at his apartment, I literally heard everybody upstairs, like a bunch of commotion, like heavy footsteps and people running out and then people running in, and sure enough, that whole night I was literally tortured so bad. Um, I was in the shower trying to put water on me to break the electric torture,
Yeah.
to break it. I was running in and out of the house. There was a balcony. I was running in and out, and and I was getting into the refrigerator. I got in the refrigerator and I took all the food out and I got it, and I'm like closing the door just like a little bit, and it seemed like that cut the connection off, but I couldn't sit in the refrigerator.
Right. Yeah.
So to make a long story short, I was just like tortured all night long, and finally the sun came up, and I'm in the bed with a towel around me, just shaking. And the friend came in, and he's like, "Wow, you look bad." And I go, "Yeah, if you just went through what I went through, you would look bad too." And of course, they don't believe you, and they can't, they don't even like inquire about what happened. So anyway, they took me to the airport. I ended up going to my family in Texas.
Mhm.
With some really weird things that happened in the airport as well. I went home in a wheelchair. So, I had people
And
put,
didn't and was this the time period where you had an incident and flatlined and you just fell and collapsed, or was this later?
this
When
was before. So
oh,
this was
that was
before.
before.
So I can kind of go there. So the boyfriend came and lived with me in 2009. He came and lived with me, and he was uh, cooking food for me and bringing my coffee to me in the morning. And I was going to work. I was working there. So and this went on and he was just like, really ingratiating himself into my life. I had known him when I lived, before I moved to South Korea, but he was a bit, I realized he was kind of sadistic and kind of cruel to me. It seemed like people were always cruel, and he was very cruel. And so I got away from him in 2007 and moved to South Korea. But I got lonely, and I called him up, and then he came to visit me, and then he just came to live with me out there. And I just noticed that weird things were happening with my health. For
Mhm.
example, I woke up. Um, I woke up, and something. It sounded like something like unsealed in my eardrum, and I woke up, and I had. It just so happened there was some Q-tips there, and I put it in my ear, and I'm just like, oh my God, what's going on? And I went to the doctor, and they said I had a lacerated eardrum. So I believe that he put something in my ear. So now I don't, not only do I have something in the back of my neck here
Mhm.
from the surgery in 2009, now I have something in my ear. And I don't remember what came first. I don't remember if the surgery or the ear thing first. But needless to say, both of those things happened. And the doctor said, yes, you have a laceration in your eardrum. So, so I kept having these really weird health things, and
Mhm.
the boyfriend called my director and the director of the school, and then her husband. They came and got me, and kind of whisked me away with my boyfriend in the car, and whisked me away to this hospital. And I remember it was kind of a dark hospital, and the nurse had me like on her arm, and I'm walking like this. And I don't really remember like what was wrong with me, but something was going on with me bad for them to take me to the hospital. Or maybe they just wanted me to go to the hospital. I don't know.
Mhm.
But anyway, she was walking me with arm in arm, and then I just dropped to the ground. And at the time, I didn't really understand what was happening, but I saw, it was as if I was like going up into the clouds.
Like
And
leaving your
I remember,
body. Yeah.
pardon?
Like leaving your body.
Yeah, I was leaving my body, and I remember that my ex-husband, he kind of, I remember his spirit or his presence being there. So, and then the next thing I know, I'm back in the hospital. But I did flatline, and of course the boyfriend told me that, and they just said you have hypertension. That was what they diagnosed me with, was hypertension. So the same thing happened the next day where I just felt really bad. And so those were the not, strange health problems that were happening to me while he was there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
then he went away back to Texas, and he stayed with my dad, and then came back in 2010, and he and I went back to Texas, or went back to Texas. And then I came back in 2010 as well. So like May of 2010, I went back to South Korea, and that's when all the weird stuff started happening, following people like coming into my apartment, obviously, and leaving, cigarette butts in my apartment, and leaving my door unlocked when I came home from work. And so that was kind of my experience there. I went back to Texas, and my family picked me up. And of course, they're thinking, Wendy's just lost her marbles. That's They took me to a hospital there in Houston, and my stepfather's there with me, and my mom's there, and I'm just clinging to my mom, just, Mom, you're not going to believe this is what happened to me. And my stepfather's sitting over there with his newspaper, just flipping through the newspaper, not saying anything, kind of suspicious. He's not really like inquiring, like, oh, what happened to you, Wendy? Like, did what happened next? And no, he's not asking me nothing, right?
Was
So
this the when they picked you up? Were you in a wheelchair at that time?
I was in a wheelchair, yes, after all of the
Oh,
torture that happened to me the night before. I
yeah.
mean, I really could not walk, just, I mean, I could walk, I was just so weak. But yeah, they picked me up at the airport, and my dad was pushing me in the wheelchair, and then I got into the car, and we went to the hospital. So we were there for 8 hours until they saw me.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a weird girl that came up and and she looked like she was a zombie. I'm telling you, she was just like, and she was sitting right next to my dad with her foot kind of like swinging like that, where she was almost about to kick him in the crotch. It was weird. It was just like, what is going on? Um, so yeah, I didn't stay there. My dad went and got me a prescription of probably some hardcore, psychotic medicine,
Mm-hmm.
and wanted me to take it, and I wouldn't take it. I'm not, because there's something wrong with me. Something's been done to me. Why are you trying to
Yes.
like
Yes.
hug me? You know, um, that night when I didn't stay at my dad's house because the boyfriend was there at my dad's house. He had, talked my dad into letting him stay at his house and everything. And so I didn't go there. I went to my brother's house, where my mom and my brother and his wife all lived together. And he had a dog, a little dog. Well, not a little dog, but a beautiful yellow lab.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog, uh, I went into the bathroom, and me and the dog were just laying in the bathroom, and the dog, the dog intuitively knew to stay by me, and she did, man. She stayed right by me, and and then I just got the feeling like, oh my goodness, I can control this. So I
But
started.
you were having this vibration sensation, right? You were feeling like you were vibrating. Is that
Uh-huh.
yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. you know, it's not a good vibrating either. I
Right.
mean,
It,
in
yeah.
other words, you
And it
know,
would.
this was, so what I did was I visualized in my mind a blanket of iridescent, beautiful light that would just cover, you know, the dog and I with a blanket of light. And so when I did that, I realized that it protected me. It really protected me. It stopped the vibrations, the torture that was going on, because obviously they had moved into the house next door. All of their, you know, all of the you know, all of the people involved in this program, okay, that are responsible for this program, had kicked the people out of the house next door to my brother and moved in there. So they all moved in there, and they were trying to, you know, I guess do whatever they do, you know what I mean? Like, they, they are monitoring me. They are, you know, trying to control me. And I mean, that, you know, that they'll do anything to, for this program. They'll do anything. There's no money is too much. So yes, so I believe that they were
Yes.
next door in the house. So that kind of like started me on this journey of like country hopping.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I can move there, then I can go here to get away from it. So yeah, so that's, but
And when you came back to Texas, then what year did you go back out of country?
I stayed with my brother and my mom and them until like, you know, I came back in September. I left again in November, and I got this awesome job in San Jose del Cabo, Mexico, and it was right on the beach. And I was working at a really good school as a, you know, a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
That I mean, I had an awesome apartment, an awesome job. Do you know, I got so spooked because of, you know, people kind of wanting to be my friend and like coming into my life a little bit too soon, and I wasn't
Yeah.
comfortable with that. I hightailed it out there in January.
Mm.
Okay, so, you know, I couldn't even stay at that job that was like on the beach, perfect job, you know. But then I started thinking, well, these are setups. They're actually doing this to me. They're pointing me in this direction of this job. And then there's already people there that are going to, you know, be a part of the agenda, the mind control agenda, where they scare the hell out of you, and you know, they tell you in your mind that, oh, we're putting smoke under the, you know, we're putting toxic chemicals in your apartment, and you know, that person over there, they're going to kill you. So, you know, as far as like the voice to skull stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it does happen like periodically when they want it to happen, but day to day it's not there, I don't think. But they, you know, so that was San Jose del Cabo. That was in January of 2011. I went home, and this time my mom said, you are not staying here. I mean, and I'm just like, well, where am I going to go? You
Yeah.
know, what am I going to do? So so she goes, well, you can go stay with your aunt out in the country. You can go stay with her. So I go, okay. So I rode a bus to my aunt's house and stayed with her, and just, you know, they followed me there too. You know, there's people, I don't know who these people are. Are they zombies? Are they controlled or what? But they were there, you know, and I'm trying to like protect my aunt from these people, and you know, it just, I mean, my aunt ended up attacking me, you know, one afternoon. She ended up attacking me. And this is where I realized that I need to get right with the light. and I need to get right with something. This is where the whole spiritual journey began, at my aunt's house. So I started listening to Lisa Renee. I don't know if you know her. Lisa Renee with energetic synthesis. So I started studying what she had to say, and it really resonated with me, where you can control, or you can, you can control light frequencies. So I had done a little bit of it when I was with my, my brother and my brother and my mom at his house. I had done a little bit of it, but there I really started, and that's where I started drawing too. So I started drawing at my aunt's house. No, we're talking about the sticks in Louisiana, like back in the woods. Okay, I was there with her, and the freaks would come out there. I mean, my computer would get zapped, and I had to go get another computer and stuff like that. But that's where my spiritual journey started. That's where I started to draw right after do you remember it was March 11th 2011, whenever they had that earthquake, and the Japan, the Japanese, I think it was, what's the name of it? But anyway, it happened, and it was a big earthquake, and that nuclear reactor broke down, and it was toxic all over Japan. I can't think of it, but do you remember what I'm talking about?
I remember what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name of that plant where.
Yeah, I don't know. And I've been to Japan about 3 times, but yeah, so I started drawing these little Japanese, or they're matryoshka dolls, but I started drawing them with like tears in their eyes. A week before that happened. Now, I didn't start, it was a week before that happened. I started drawing these little dolls with tears in their eyes, and they were real crude. They weren't really anything great, but that's kind of where I started drawing and started having the spiritual journey experience there. So
can you give an example of some of the practices that you started to incorporate that to help with to bring in the light frequencies?
Yeah, well, Lisa Renee has something called the 12D step. It's where it's a video where you visualize your body being surrounded by very highly fine, refined light, and you protect yourself. You put yourself into this cylinder, and then you have a platform that you're on as well, and so your whole body is kind of like in this cylinder, and then you connect yourself to the planet, to the earth. The frequency or the light goes into the earth, and then so you ground yourself there, and then from the top a streak of light goes into the universe, and you ground yourself there, so you're kind of like protected. So I started doing that, and I just noticed so many amazing things that were happening, and then also I was meditating. I was using the sun as a guide, as a source of energy that was giving me life and protecting me. It's all about protection with me. I was looking for something to protect me because I didn't have anybody or anything to protect me.
Exactly.
So that worked really good until my aunt, until she attacked me one afternoon. It's just like, when you're bringing that much light into the planet, you get attacked really easy.
Yeah, it's stirring up someone. Yeah, the light will stir up people for sure. When you're carrying light, it will it'll bring out some interesting behavior from those around you, for real.
Yeah.
I've bared witness to it a lot.
Yeah, you're attacked. Uh, yeah, you're attacked. You're protected, but then like if you're not shielding yourself and if you're not doing it like 24/7, you're gonna get attacked. So so I called my stepfather to come get me, and he took me back to Houston. He took me to a hotel motel thing first. He wouldn't take me to his house.
Mhm.
And then finally I went to his house, and one weekend I remember he went out of town, and there was this bright light outside of the house, and the next thing I remember, I woke up to the dog kind of barking. There was some really like supernatural things that were going on at my stepfather's house when I was there. I mean, I don't want to get into it because it has to do with like remembering some kind of like beings that were. I mean, I'm not saying that they were bad beings, but I don't know what their purpose was. But I was, there was a situation where, yeah, that was there was so many things there at my dad's house where I woke up and remembering kind of like meeting some kind of like being in the astral, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
And you know and that was kind of weird. And I remember my fingernail, like under my fingernail, was super sore. Like it
Mhm.
was weird. It's like I woke up and like under my fingernail was like really sore. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know what that has to do with anything, but so now now I'm looking for another job. I'm looking to get the hell out of Dodge, right? Because my dad is not being very nice to me. He's and I'm meditating twice a day. I mean, I'm praying and meditating, and
Mhm.
the whole time, like when I'm meditating, they're trying to put like really scary images into my brain. Like, you're trying to pray and they're trying to like
Yeah.
force. Have you had that experience?
Oh, yes. Yes, I have. I remember because even not just me, because I was taking care of my, elderly mother during when my targeting started. She didn't drive, and even she was getting the projected images, and this is when, because I think that this whole experience, what it did for me, it was my spiritual awakening, because you're leveled, your life is imploded, nobody's believing you, you're being subjected to things that, yes, don't make any sense, they don't seem rational, there's nothing that there's nothing comparable to it, your whole world is imploded, and then you're going through this, and I knew that the only way that I was going to be able to navigate this rejection and this isolating experience. I mean, for me, I did have my mother, who they were doing things to her too, but I was their primary target. Her doing it to her was, in my opinion, what they were trying to do to get to me. Anyone who would pick on an elderly woman with, that had some health conditions, of course, it chronically, got worse when she started experiencing the attacks, because she was getting the electrical zaps, she was getting the head pain and pressure, and she was getting projected images. And every once in a while, she could hear audible, but not like what it was for me. My V2K it came on very, very hard and strong, and it's been continuous. But she would get these demonic looking, like images, and really scary images projected to her. And every now and again, and you become to know, what is created within you. At least I was able to feel the pattern of what was an external projection versus one that may be, coming from me. because I don't know if you, in your spiritual awakening, I felt like, my inner eye was opening and you could see the colors. And
Mhm.
when you're, and I think this whole experience can awaken your inner eye, and having, the ability to vision. And who's to say the frequencies might open that up too,
Yeah,
I
yeah, that's a good
that
point.
could be it. But when you start getting those internal images, to me, anything that is coming from, God and the light is not going to be something sinister or have that sinister feeling behind it. And
Right.
this actually happened to me just yesterday. They like to every once in a while do that while I'm in the shower and I've closed my eyes and I'm washing my face and get
Uh-huh.
one of those crazy,
Really,
images.
really.
I'm like, no, not today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly things that you've never even thought about. They're so foreign. They're not
yeah,
organic at
yeah,
all, you know. I
just
remember in China, I had this dream, and it was this really strange dream about these bees, and it was like right in my, it was like, oh, we're busy bees, and we're so industrious, and they were definitely like showing me how Chinese people are really like bees. I guess they work like a hive mind, and which is true. They do.
mhm.
They have that hive mind. And then they would also try to take me back to some sexual abuse that happened to me. They would try to, take when I was dreaming, they would try to take me back there to that time. And luckily, I don't really remember a lot of it, so that was good. But it was a babysitter, a babysitter's husband, actually, that dressed up like a woman, and like, and like got me in a predicament where I was in the room with him, or in a bed with him, and he was showing me like, bad images and pornographic images, and I'm like, I'm just a child, and he's doing this to me, so I probably blocked out whatever else happened, but I do remember some of it. But they were trying to take me back as if to remember that, and my memory, they just couldn't take me back to remember, whatever happened, so.
Mhm. And again, this is just evidence of what, I mean, they have scanned and hijacked your mind, your memories, and your suppressed emotions, your trauma, your grief, and just at will want to try to push buttons to see, what response is
Mm,
created from that triggered moment. Um, it's just
yeah.
this again, this experimentation, and you and I discussed this. I think that we were introductory. I don't even think that even us in this decade, or because this has been going on for a while. I think that it's perfecting the craft of hijacking people, their mind and their thoughts, and a data bank collection of analysis of groups of individuals and subjected to very similar things, maybe the gang stalking, the auditory effect, the directed energy attacks, and how people are able to maneuver and respond to that, and and how does this lead them, and what path does it lead them on, and what separates those that have gone down that path and it went into a dark path, or ended their suffering at their own
Yeah.
hands, or in an act of trying to rebel out about what was being done, not being heard, not being seen and accepted in the reality of what these programs are capable of, and those that found a way to navigate the day-to-day and the gauntlet of what it is. It just seems like everything is a collection of data experimentation housed somewhere for analytics. Like,
Yeah, I completely agree that they're they have complete access to your mind, to my mind. It's almost, I mean, I know that. I've seen the patterns. In Turkey, I was working at a school, and this really interesting man came in and said he wanted me to he wanted to take lessons from me. And the school was, I worked at a school, and the school that I worked at, the director was like, close to the president, actually, of Turkey, and he was part of the, the political party there in Turkey. Like, he had a picture of himself with the president of Turkey on his desk. Anyway, this really strange man came in, and he said he wanted some lessons, and I can't say no, but I just knew. Here we go. He's going to be doing, he's going to be, my brain's going to be an open book for him. He's going to be doing his little research on me. And he was he told me he was in radiology. He told me he was like a radiologist, and he reads, what are those things called, X-rays or MRIs or whatever. But I just knew he was there. I knew exactly what he was there for. He was there to, he had access to my brain. I mean, it's as simple as that. So, I mean, and he
you
was
start experiencing an uptick in attacks, bodily attacks, or
no, you could just tell the mind games he was playing.
The thought manipulation.
I mean, at that point I was like, go ahead, read my mind. I'll be your guinea pig. Just don't torture me with directed energy weapons, please. Which I had been in Turkey too. Okay, fine. Here's my brain. Here I am. Do whatever you want to do. I'm just a simple person. I'm not anything, but it just so happens that I'm wired up for somebody to come in and, read my mind, and whatever, and everything else that entails. They're able to look inside who I am, look inside my brain, look inside. And, it's weird. Like, when that, you're not going to lie. If you know what I mean? Like, you cannot lie. You can't, because you can't do anything wrong, because you're being watched. That, if you do anything wrong, anything dangerous or wrong or, illegal, it's over. They'll put you in jail. And who wants to go to jail? I don't want to go to jail. So,
and for those of us that have experienced, or on a daily basis or sporadically, the auditory effect, I don't know how many times in the beginning that they were going to they were going to put me in jail for what? I hadn't done anything. Then there was this whole series of, oh, you did this and that, which was the furthest from true. It really is gaslighting. They want you to second guess yourself, and that's what it's all about. It's trying to break down your psyche and to splinter your mind and fragment it with a bunch of untruths and just the most deplorable behavior, and then trying to play empathy versus, but then the root of it is, again, it's all about trying to bait and gauge you in the auditory effect realm. So the sooner that those that have it can just equate it to garbage, because it's going to do 99.8% garbage and a 0.02% of some kind of truth. But that truth is never going to trump that it is all garbage. that's what they try to do to latch you. I think of it as like energetic hooks. You have to, grant that hook, and to not grant it is where your power is. And it took many years to ignore that garbage. It really did.
Yeah. Have you ever talked to them? Have you ever, like, with your mind, have you ever tried to talk to them? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was doing some volunteer work in Latvia one summer, and I was staying at a school, and I just was laying there, and I just started saying, "You people are much more evil than I will ever be, and not only that, you're closer." They're closer to evil than I will ever be because they're part of that program. And so I'm talking to him like that, and all of a sudden I got this image of this bowling ball hitting these bowling pins, like something like so random like that,
Yeah.
like shut up and quit thinking that. But I was thinking, no, whoever is behind this program is so close to evil, much closer than I will ever be. I mean, they've got control of me. I'll give them that. But I will never be as evil as they are, ever. I will never. And they are so close. They're this close to evil. They live it, they drink it, they eat it every day. And you know what? I hope they're happy, that they've sold their soul like that. I hope they are.
So to me, and again, it's like your life is under a microscope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these small little things, we're human. Yes, we lose our temper. Yes, we cuss, or yes, maybe we want to give in to something that is not healthy for us, food, alcohol, whatever, who knows. But nobody, what gives them the right to put us under a microscope and blast out our idiosyncrasies, our quirks, and our slight missteps? And when they themselves are just doing this evil atrocity, and could they handle, this is what I was always, in my rants with this V2K, which never got me anywhere. So I, again, highly advise you not to engage.
No,
Because
don't
it's
engage.
only taking your energy and giving your power away to it, is why I say that. Because it's so fun to be throwing that stones of judgment and casting that out onto somebody when you are a perverse individual monitoring and viewing someone like, a pervert and peeping Tom. You have to be comfortable with yourself and get very comfortable with yourself, your imperfections, and embracing all parts of who you are, because
And having no fear.
having
No fear. I mean, everything we've been through, I mean, you're just not afraid anymore. I mean, I flew to Turkey and landed in Ankara, and they said, "Oh, you can't come into the country. We're not going to allow you into the country." And all my stuff is there in Ankara, and I'm like stuck in the airport. Like, what am I going to do? Literally. I mean, everything that's happened to you, you just think, "Oh my God, like this is just only making me stronger."
you
And
have to roll with it. You have to be flexible with it.
yeah, you do.
We will never have a boring life or existence.
Oh
Once
God,
this kind of stuff,
I pray for boring. I just want boring. I want simple,
just something routine, and just nothing that is something that isn't usurped, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And
I mean, I don't know about your targeting, but I must be at the end of the line, I guess, because they'll, I notice that they'll, when I move to a new country, they won't target me for maybe a year, maybe 2 years. And then that third and fourth year, they're back at it again. And then I have to go to another country. That happened when I was in Turkey. it happened, well, when I was in China, of course. I mean, I left China, I tried to escape China twice. And every time I went to the airport, the flight that I had bought was like canceled. And then and then I would be escorted by some college students that just so happened to be there and just so happened to be going back to where I lived in China, and, from Shanghai. And it just, and then finally the second time I made it out, I escaped. I literally ran out of my apartment, got in a taxi, went to the train station, and jumped on a flight and went home, But I had tried to leave China. So it felt like I was their property, It felt like that maybe I had been sold into somebody had bought me in China, for the technology,
The
because
study, the research.
the
Yeah.
research, the money, somebody had definitely sold me to China. And the Chinese didn't want me escaping. They wanted to torture me. And as a matter of fact, I went to go get a massage with one of my coworkers, and she got the massage, but I got the head massage, right? And I'll be darned, they put something in my head. They put an implant, like they're rubbing like real hard on my head. And sure enough, about a couple of days later, I was like, just, it was like, Alice in Wonderland. It was just so weird. But yeah, I think that I know they put something in my head during that I mean, who does that? Like, gets a head massage and then 2 days later you're not right. So
And
yeah.
were you targeted in, you said that you were in Saudi Arabia too?
I
Did
was
you?
in Saudi Arabia. Now, again, they gave me 2 years. I was there during COVID. So I actually had kind of a reprieve. But the whole time I've got a handler, I've got some Saudi person that has befriended me and, pretended to be my friend. And then sure enough, after about 4 years of being there, well, I was being attacked on my neck. Like, they were somebody who had came into the compound, who had been hired, uh, came into the compound, and they were using their weapons on me, because I would wake up and my neck would be real sore and stuff, and sure enough, one morning I woke up and I had to go to the hospital, and they said that I had fractured my cervical back here. I had to have like all kinds of physical therapy and stuff. And so yeah, so
But you had done nothing other than being attacked by the directed energy that would create that fracture, right?
Oh no, yeah, I would.
Yeah, I mean, because the doctors don't know that. I mean, right? Because I mean, how else would you have that? You just all of a sudden just have a spontaneous fracture. Is the directed energy? Because you've
Absolutely.
also, hmm
Absolutely. Yeah, somebody came on the compound with or maybe it was the military. I don't know. They have access to everything over there in Saudi. So they stopped that. Um, and then they started attacking my sciatica over there. It was so bad. I couldn't stay at my villa for more than 10 or 15 minutes, and then it was just, so I left there and went to a hotel. And of course, I had been tortured so bad that when I got to the hotel, the people at the hotel were like, "Are you okay?" Like, they were really concerned about me. Like, is everything okay? And I'm like, "Yeah, you can't tell anybody." But so sure enough, outside of the compound, I wasn't attacked, because they don't want these weapons used on their people. Obviously the Saudis don't want, these, I mean, maybe, but for the most part, I was only attacked there on the compound. And, I mean, I went from villa to villa to villa, like, and pool house, trying to get away from it, but it just couldn't, It was really making me sick. So I came home in May of 2022 and, stayed again with my mom and my brother. And then I had to find another place to live and got a job and of course was gang stalked out of that job. There was a little setup there at the school and stuff. So I went to work for my friend in the renewable energy sector, and was up in Minnesota working. All of a sudden, this is June of 2023. So all of a sudden, I get the connection to my head. So I know that they're attacking me again. They're doing something to my brain, And at the same time, they were attacking my sciatica back here. And so in Minnesota, I was attacked very, very bad, like horrifically. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't stay there. So I had to come home and came home and, within about a year and a half, I can't walk normal now. They've attacked me so much that my health has suffered so bad that, it's a miracle that I'm walking right now. I mean, I'm on all kinds of medication, doctors. It's just, yeah.
And it's so unfortunate, and you're just the testimony of the never giving up, never surrendering, and keep
Yeah.
going. And I want that's a good lead in to your podcast. So can you tell us what came up for you to decide that, oh, I need this outlet, and you created this podcast, because I want to also get to your artwork, which
Sure.
you can see on the screen here, the artwork that Wendy has
Mhm.
done, that is part of the images that you will see on the Spotify podcast, that is titled The Butterfly Transmission, a podcast from a targeted life told through vision, trauma, and art. And I have listened to every episode that is out there, and it's just so beautifully articulated. And
So,
I highly encourage those. You have some shorts in there too about just being centered. A good reminder that when you're going through the throes of it, to ground and to center yourself. So, what led up to you creating the podcast?
yeah, I mean, when this is happening to you, you have. I had to find an outlet. I had to find, a way to tell my story without telling my story. So I started drawing, and I just picked up a Sharpie, picked up poster board, started drawing, trying to tell the story. And I was writing in journals and stuff too, and I had maybe like a blog or whatever, but for some reason I've just not been able to put this into any kind of finalized format, and so I keep trying. I keep trying to write a book or make videos or whatever. And then this summer I had a little bit of time, and I just decided I'm gonna try to tell this story again. And so I taught myself how to do the podcasting thing, and the scripts were right on target for me, and so I just put this out there. It's not really a finished product, it's just kind of like a beginning, and it's definitely hasn't told my story, but it's a start. So it was just a matter of, I have time on my hands, and I keep wanting to get the story out of me. It's so hard to tell the story, isn't it? I mean, it's really hard because you don't
Yeah,
know where to start. Like,
right. Because where do you begin? There's just so much that is a part of this. And if you don't mind, I'll play an excerpt from, episode 5, and it's called The Trap in Korea. And so I will remove this from this gauge, and we'll just go to the microphone and play the podcast.
This is The Butterfly Transmission, a podcast from a targeted life, told through vision, trauma, and symbolic memory. I am Wendy. This is episode 5, The Trap in Korea. There comes a moment when the ground beneath you stops feeling like earth, when you realize the people closest to you may not be who they say they are, and when even the air begins to vibrate with something you can't explain. That moment came for me in South Korea. I had gone there as a teacher, a seeker, a woman looking for peace in a world that no longer made sense. But what I found was something else entirely. By the end, I wasn't teaching anymore. I was surviving. Korea didn't feel strange at first. The food, the culture, the students. I fell into the rhythm of my new life. I even found myself believing that I might stay for years. But slowly, the rhythm broke. A strange woman at a coffee shop, a conversation about Colorado, a car ride I never should have taken. The details seemed innocent until they didn't. My health began to shift. Attila had moved in with me by then, and that's when my body began to betray me. I developed strange symptoms, pressure in my ears, dizziness, heart palpitations. One day, I even collapsed in a hospital bathroom. I later learned that I had flatlined. I saw the clouds, and I felt Nick there, my son's father. I came back into my body, but I knew something had changed. That hospital trip was just the beginning. Journal entry. Listen.
I again, the story, and you shared some of this in the podcast today too. Amazing job of articulation, relatable. It was so relatable to me in terms of things that I've gone through during this experience since it all began in 2012. And again, I highly recommend it to those. I'm going to bring up one of the images that you shared.
Mm-hmm.
You do your storytelling through the artwork, and there's a lot of detail. Can you walk us through this image and the thing and the symbolism?
I guess we could just start at the top right there. That is my my guardian angel looking down. So this is me on the American flag. However, I was by that time I was aware that this is a military program. This is my country has done this to me. So I was sleeping on my flag, on the flag, the American flag, but I'm kind of sliding off there, sliding off. I'm trying to maybe create a whimsical kind of environment there with the stars have turned into flowers, of course, The guardian angel at the top, she says, I protect you. We are connected to spirit. You are loved and on your soul path, God's will, the will to good.
Beautiful.
So that's that. And then of course in the top left up corner, it's connecting the dots. Like I'm trying to connect the dots of what's happening to me.
Right.
Of course, there's the eyeball there in the center. You know that you're being watched. That it's obvious. And down kind of towards the bottom, there's a jar. It says a jar, as if the door is open. There's something ajar. There's something wrong.
Right.
So I was trying to get that across. And the head of the Matryoshka doll at the very bottom there, it's as if it's empty, but yet it's got these growing plant lives kind of growing in it, and then at the top it's the same thing. It's kind of scary but organic, but that was the story of that one.
Oh, I love it. It's just amazing. And to hear you articulate the meaning behind it, it makes it just wow. That is
And then, of
wonderful.
course, right there at the left, there's a satellite. So the technology. So I was trying to incorporate, the technology as well, into the
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. I'm going to bring up another one of
here.
yours here. So this one you had sent, I'm going to show it in the black and white version first and then the
Okay.
colorized version. So here's the black and white, and it's
Uh-huh.
Date of America on, and then what does it say at the bottom on
One hollers. One
one?
hollers. Yeah. So instead of $1, one hollers.
Okay, all right, I get it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm hollering.
Yes.
Um, yeah, yeah.
And this is
Uh,
I'm going to bring up
y-
the colorized version. It's real.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It says $1, but on the original it's one holler.
yeah. Yes. And
Um,
then, yes, if you want to walk us through that, I'll put the other one up. So I see like the alien. Does that mean in terms of
yeah,
like
those
the,
that was an image, of course, that was kind of like projected in my mind at some point. I'm not sure, you don't know if it's real or not, but it was definitely. Uh, I do remember dreaming about that
Mhm.
alien, and he was very mad at me. He was very mad at me. In the astral, he was mad at me. But and that right there, I believe, is a satellite. To the right of the alien is a satellite. There's a globe up there. Uh,
Mhm.
there is,
Yes.
there's another satellite on the right hand corner there. This is just kind of, again, like, this is a global agenda. This is a project. This is something that is making money, but people are being hurt. That's what I mean by one hollers. Like,
Yeah.
this is the state of our country. This is what our country is doing to its people. This is it, and that's what I was trying to convey in this picture.
Yes, and again, the colorization of it is just stunning, and the connect the dots, the satellite, the all seeing, knowing
Mhm.
eye that is there, the tear from the doll.
Uh-huh.
It's really a powerful, representation of what we go through,
Yeah.
and and then we have to go through it and in some form of isolation because the world as a whole is so not accepting to the truth of this until somebody understand go witnesses this firsthand. They will never understand what we've gone through, and the
Mhm.
way things are going, it seems like they want to introduce this out more and more, so we could be serving a very important purpose to hold the line, for those.
No, they couldn't have picked two stronger people than you and I to get through this program and live to tell it, right? If they
Yeah.
want people to know about it. I personally don't think that they want people to know about it, but they haven't gotten rid of me. They haven't gotten rid of you, and they haven't gotten rid of a lot of other people that are speaking out about this.
There is something about the super AI that came out recently. I think that the guys for buy-in on this surveillance, mass surveillance, is protection of the people. But behind the guys, the veil is purposeful things that were done to create that narrative to get the buy-in to these events of, oh, we need this all seeing super AI to catch things before it happens. But that what happened was a projected event, whether it was directed energy, other programs that were they activated within people to start acting out. We don't know, but what we do know that this technology is so vast and so sophisticated, and
Right.
as a product of it and what it's capable of, we have that we've had this introduction to it. I don't think that most people could begin to even understand. And that is what is coveted in this program, because that is going to invoke chaos, mutiny, anarchy, that, oh my God, that not only is the government a part of this, but is allowing it to
Yeah.
happen. That is just too much unless you've experienced it firsthand.
I mean, can you imagine like waking up one day and realizing that this is your life? Like realizing, and then you realize, oh, well, if it's so, like you say, sophisticated like this, then the military and the government's got to be involved in this. And then you realize what you're up against. And it's a nightmare. You go to sleep and you wake up and you think, this is all going to go away. Like I'm just imagining things and this is all going to go away, but it doesn't. It does not go away. And you and me and all of the other TIs that are living with this have got to be strong and not let them win. Whoever, and it's so diabolical that they can hide behind this technology. They can just hide behind it, and they're so evil. But you know what? They, because of the spiritual connection that I have, I know that, my spirit family, my spiritual family, they know who they are. They're not going to get away with it. They're whoever's involved in this, they're going to have some really bad things happen to them.
That in order for them to keep the hooks in is the triggers and the trauma and the grief and the suffering and the loss and the isolation. This is where we have to, as a community, rise above this. We've got to see our power and our potential, that even though that this has happened to us, that we if we have to, we can crawl on the ground so we can gain to the strength to get on our knees, to then get up and stand again. And this is what this, to me, this summarizes what I have gone through. I had to go through all of these things, but to get your buy-in on your, to destroy your credibility, your self-worth, they have to get your buy-in to that. But what you need to do is make peace with what they taunt and throw at you, because you have to nullify it. When you nullify it by recognizing that, yes, I have some undesirable traits, but who and what is this program to sit there and, degrade me, to bait me with being this is the human experience. Don't let it have power over you. You have to embrace of all who you are. And it's our undesirable parts that just have as much, space as the desirable ones, but they make us who we are. They make us that unique essence and being. And how dare somebody try to, looking through the microscope lens at us, taunt us and bait us with that information. You have to make peace with who you are. You need to reconcile your heart. You need to let go and create the space for the new to move forward. By raising your personal vibration, you let go of these. That's how you raise it. And because in the light and the higher vibrating frequencies is where these psychological assault and cognitive invasive and evasive technologies live and thrive. They have to keep you anchored. They got to keep you tethered into darkness,
Right.
and making you believe that you are worthless and should be subjected to this and just sit there and take it. This is where you can reclaim your power and your life back by not giving into this. And I know it is hard. It is a daily battle. You can slide down, but you can get back up again and just the awareness of when they try the tactics and patterns is very pattern driven. You know, you have to look at it as some people talk about digital cleanse. They've cloned your mind and they're using super AI and handlers to bait you and gaslight you and to stump and stumble, because the one thing that they can't do when we raise our light and our vibration is have a strong hold over us. We need to let God and the light win in this situation. There is assistance out there. We're going to claim our divine worth, you know, and birthright and the mantle, not these engineered programs, whether it be generational cycles and patterns. You have to be the cycle breaker. You got to be the pattern dissolver. That is where your liberation and your success and your win is on the other side of this, to help others that are going through this.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself, Melissa. Yeah. It's a struggle, but you know, it is doable. I'm definitely like an example of that, you know. Yeah. I mean, our lives have meaning too. We've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong. You've done nothing wrong. For some reason, you know, we've been caught up in this trap that's you know, and you know, I like what you said. You know, if you keep yourself, keep your frequency high, and you know, do your meditation, do your prayer, whatever kind of you know, whatever kind of practice you want to do, as long as it's, you know, of the light, then you know that will definitely help keep you out of the program, out of the suffering that they want of us. And so, yeah.
I used, and I had it because this was during the anger phase, and behind anger is grief, you know, loss, suffering. You know, why did this happen to me? Why am I being subjected to this? I've never done anything that warrants this kind of invasive, you know, world imploding technology being done to. I started to just kind of get away from that, because I think it's a very important critical step, because I used to, you know, I'm pretty detailed. So I used to envision how I saw these people suffering for what they've done to others and myself, and what they did to my mother. And I realized that was a lot of energy that I was spending on that. And it was pretty crafty and well designed out, but it wasn't doing anything for me in that moment. I had a very wise woman. Her name was Jody. She's no longer with us. She wasn't targeted, but she told me that, Melissa, you know, what you're going through is the only path out of it is love. And
that's right.
Yeah. And I was just like, I can't resonate with that, you know, because I wasn't there yet.
You were in your anger state.
Yes, but then it's not about love for them. It's about love for yourself.
Yeah.
And the whole, you know, we're kind of, you know, all connected together and in one way or another. And so when we start raising our vibration and start letting go of the trauma, and you know, trying to think, you know, okay, is today going to be the day that this is in? I'm going to thrive no matter if it ends today or not. This is where that shift in the mindset has to be. It needs to be about you and your experience, and not being succumbed to what has been forced upon you. And that's where you begin to reclaim your life, and you start to see, you know, what this experience has shown and taught you about yourself, and how strong you are, and all of these little things, you know, because, you know, V2K can be so vicious. It can be.
I know it.
And
they used to tell me in Minnesota, they, you know, the last time I was severely attacked was then they would tell me, you need to clean your apartment, and you need to get another bra, you know, you're saggy and all this stuff. And I'm like, who's saying that to me? Like, why would they say that? I need to get a new bra, because I mean, it was just stuff like that, you know. And I mean, it sounds crazy, but that's what they were saying. You know, the V2K like tries to break you down like that. And I had just had one of my most unbelievable experiences, you know, spiritual experiences. And then they try to take that away from me. You know, they try really hard.
It's almost like when you have a win, like you're having a really beautiful, spiritual moment or a connection with God, and then they want to really come at you. It's just like I describe it as here. They do it in that case, and then also if you're down and you're having a moment of suffering and you're just trying to release that, it's just like vultures descending in front of
Hmm.
the sky. And then once you recognize what it is, I'm like, oh, here comes the vultures.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let me just move past this. I'm not going to stay stuck in this, because to
Yeah.
heck with them. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of that. I'm just going to check myself going, okay, I've gotten myself into a tailspin, and it's my old friend. I know it well, right? And they're just my
Yeah.
old friend against me. So I'm like, let me just reconcile myself in this moment and just surrender and let it go, you know?
Yeah, and you definitely can't trust anybody. Like, I don't trust anybody, like nobody, because I mean, they are so good at ingratiating themselves in your life and trying to, you know, get their hooks in you, like you say, that they'll mess up everything in your life, you know. The people who built my house, I mean, they basically dug a floodplain and built my house on top of a floodplain. Okay, who does that? Now, when it rains, it floods a bit. It floods. I mean, it came at my house too, but and these are, you know, it doesn't matter where you go. Like, you go to this contractor or this contractor or this doctor. I mean, they're going to screw up things in your life. And so you got to be so careful, right? I mean, do you know what I'm talking about there?
Yes, you have to. You have to be extra cautious. You got to do more vetting. You got to research, and you got to stay on top of things. You
Hmm.
the blind trust in others kind of, you have more discernment, and you have the power to hold that accountability, because when people are doing stuff that impact you and your lives too, you have to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to helicopter everything, and that's probably an emotional response and trigger to what has been done to me,
Yeah.
because and then also being a little bit on the OCD side and thinking that everything has to be perfection, and trying to wrestle with that. Again, I recognize and I embrace that I am super critical and detailed and wanting everything to be beautiful and perfect in the best way possible.
You do a
That's
good
one.
job of that, Melissa. You do a
Yes.
really good job. You can tell by your, you know, everything about you, your podcast, and, you know, my experience with you. You can tell that, you know, you take a lot of pride in what you do, and so.
And then I have to be real with myself that nobody can operate in perfection too. So this is where, they will try to use these things against you and what they do to you.
Right.
I just love this next image I'm going to put up. Can you
Okay.
describe this one? It's so colorful, and
Sure.
I want to
Sure.
hear what recycle is all about.
So this is based on, okay, the boyfriend, he said to me one day, he goes, I had this dream about you, and the dream was that you were on a conveyor belt, and you know, pieces were put on you, and you were going down, as you went down the conveyor belt, pieces were put on you, and then you just died. And I'm like, oh, well, that's weird. Why would you have a dream like that about me, you know? And of course, he was trying to tell me what he was going to do to me. So this is based on that conversation with the boyfriend. This is a conveyor belt, And so, they're going down the conveyor belt, and then there's a connection to her head and her brain there. And then at the very end, she gains her wings, and she's thrown, of course, into the recycle bin, and it's like a recycle over and over again. And then you have the cat kind of like leaning over, like looking at what's going on, And again, you have the American flag there that that is kind of in the picture, like, in the background. It's part of the whole thing. This is a little bit different than the black and white one, but the other one, the black and white one, has a lot of different things, like animals that were just thrown away. It's just it's us being altered and modified, and then they just want to get rid of us. They just, oh, you served your purpose, and so we're just going to throw you away. And then it's just a cycle of also what they do to us as human beings. They fill our minds full of negative things, like you're not good enough, you're ugly, you need this to be beautiful. I mean, it's mind control is on so many different levels, but we're being mind controlled by the television and the internet and all that kind of stuff too. So that's the representation of what that is. Yeah.
Yes, and a prime example of, mind control, whether it be advertising, we see something and then we think that we need it. We see some, something that will, especially in like the beauty industry. Oh, if you buy this cream, it's going to take away those wrinkles and make you look less old. All of this is it's so cunning and just to draw us into this consumerism, and it's all about capitalism. And like you said, there's just so many branches of mind control. So every day that we wake up, we need to really, really be careful and conscious of what we're deciding to swallow that day. And one of the things that I do on a daily is I pray for my liberation from any mindsets and judgments and programming that I carry, and that I will be a cycle and a chain breaker. That these things show me how I can disconnect from any patterns that are of my own organic versus non-organic. I'm always praying, over my biofield, that anything that is being projected at my biofield and my body, that it be transmuted and transformed for my own good. And that it also be highly interceptable and visible for the light to come and catch it. That there be a moment that they slip up, and then something very big is broadcasted, connects it all. And I pray this over for every innocent man, woman, and child that has been subjected to it, those that have fallen, and our future, the children, and for the future of humanity, and for Earth and all of its inhabitants and its creatures. So this is the thing that I do. And when you start to branch out and realize that it's not just you that is going through this, there's so many. And, the animals and everything on this planet is subjected to this radiation that is being used to torment and to manipulate us as well. Then you start to, it is a avenue for you to, not take it's not as personal, because it's happening to so many.
Yeah.
Because I think that is another anchor.
And we know what's going on. Like, our eyes are open, and so many other people's eyes are not open. They're not aware of what's happening. And only if they did know, then they could, change things for the better for themselves, I think.
And we have to keep an open heart for those that don't understand. The only thing that they can, when we start to talk about these kinds of things, they're thinking, oh, mental illness, right? Or they're having a breakdown. because they've never been witnessed or been subjected to or felt firsthand what we're going through. So
Right.
I try to, have an open heart. In the beginning, it was an injury because I felt rejected by people that I trusted, that I've never done anything other than, be forthright and honest with them. And then they didn't believe me. That was a hard one to
Yeah.
follow.
Right. Right. Hence, that's why I did the artwork. It was my only avenue. It was my only way to tell my story, was the artwork. And I don't do it anymore. The last time I did it was in Turkey, but okay. So this is one of my favorite ones, actually.
I love it.
So the people in the front represent those people who they're kind of they're watching, but they're not seeing what's going on. They're behind that barbed wire fence, and actually they're a bit narcissistic too, because they're kind of looking at themselves in the mirror, and they're just focused on themselves. They're not focused on other people. And I don't know about you, but when I was a little girl, I liked paper dolls. So this girl, she's a paper doll, and that just goes to the fragility of humanity. We're so fragile, and so that has to do with the paper doll. That's why she's a paper doll. Now, the little cat right there, that's actually a coin purse that I got in Shanghai when I was trying to escape China. And I bought it at the gift store, and it just kind of it was just like my little friend. And it just reminds me of that time where just praying, get me out of China, get me out of here. Yeah, the butterfly. And then I don't know if you noticed, but
the eyes on the butterfly.
Yeah, the eyes on the butterfly. But the original, it has a bow and arrow, and the arrow is pointed right towards her heart. So it's like she's being killed by this bow and arrow into her heart. And it's just so painful, so heartbreaking, that my life will never be the same, that it'll never be the same as what it was going to be. And I can never be normal again, never. So that's what that represents.
Yes, I love it. I mean, there's so much detail, and the story that it portrays is so resonating to so many of us. I love the butterflies and everything in it, and just that it's amazing.
The original has a drone in it. So the original has this one is just a different version of it, but there was a drone in it. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've had the black helicopters and everything, and when I was at my family's in Houston, there was black helicopters that would fly over, the house and stuff. And it's so scary, but so that's why. And I saw drones and stuff too, would fly over the house. So
there's so many of us that have witnessed that, especially in noise campaigns,
Yes.
People that, live around us doing strange things. You're like, well, what in the world? How is it that everybody on my street works from home and doesn't go to a job? It's like, you start picking up on things. I'm like, well, this is kind of odd.
Yeah. And they all leave at the same time, and they honk their horn in the same place, and they wear the same color shirt every day. Or they all wear the same color shirt, and then it's so obvious. It's comical now,
So usually when there's noises and stuff going on, first I try to go into it. Okay. And this is something that is part of the poli-sci teachings with Jamie Rice too. It's like, okay, is this a noise, a threat? What is it? Where can it, what am I thinking this is? What could there be, is another possibility that it could be? Then you start to kind of sort through what it really could be in terms of it being related to this experience versus just some, coincidence. And that kind of helps your mind process it through, because, our subconscious its job is to be on the lookout for a threat. So if I start to see an uptick in things, I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to take a moment and process through, because it's seeming like it's hyper vigilant at that moment. So
Right.
just trying to calm, doing things to help calm the vagus nerve, and because that is our, our flight response kicking in on these threats that come against us. Interesting, and I know we didn't mention this, but you ended up finding out that this guy, that he actually had a criminal past, right? That was involved with what happened to you.
Exactly. One day I'm just kind of like, I got this idea. Okay, I'm going to go online and I'm going, because the country was an Eastern European country that he was from. So I, in the language that he spoke and in the language of this country, I did a search like, most wanted, in this country. And it gave me a PDF and I went through all the pictures and lo and behold, he's there. He's there in this most wanted PDF. I was like, oh my God, no wonder when he flew from his country to South Korea to see me, he wore a hat, like he was like incognito, But he must have worked for somebody. I think he might have worked for, one of the agencies in America that's, into this kind of stuff.
Didn't
And
he
he
kind of like tell you like, you don't know what I am? Or
I was just going to say, yeah, we're driving in the car and he's like, you really don't know who I am. And, you don't really know anything about me. And I'm like, oh, well, no, like, yeah, like what is it about you? And he kept it a secret until we were on this island in Korea. We were on this island off of the west coast of Korea, and we were just kind of holidaying, vacationing there. And I asked him, I'm like, remember when you told me that? What did you mean by that? And he goes, well, I just meant that, whenever during the war or during some situation in his country that he accidentally shot some little girl, or he said first a kitten. And then I'm like, no, that's not what you did or what you were talking about. He goes, oh, well, I shot some, I was in the military and I, shot some little girl on accident. So, but I really do think that he was part of some agency in America,
Yes, I mean, if he was a most wanted and maybe his, way of not doing any time on that was to be a part of some kind of, unacknowledged special access program to torment people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, that makes sense, that makes a lot
Because
of
there
sense.
seems to be a lot of that going around. So
Exactly.
they'll
Like
take,
you don't, you did this horrible thing and we won't put you in jail, but you got to do this,
you got to do this.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah. That's how
so
they're
I
getting.
think that a lot of these people that are involved with this, now you got some that they're just going to be, they're just going to be thug for life. You throw a $20 at them and they're like, okay, what do you
Yeah.
do? So there's that lot. And then you have those that might have, special skills or a mindset and be, abreast to something that they need. And they're like, well, we can, and they're just going to drag that garbage over them and hang it over their head to manipulate them. So it's like we have to kind of, branch out, and see that for the many layers. And then I think that really feeds into why there are so many in these type of positions that, have not come forward too, because out of fear of what could be done to them. But to me, if I was, and this is just me and how I operate and have always operated, if I was in a position of that nature and I saw what others were doing to innocent men, women, and children, I would speak out. And I've said this before, it's my speaking out to wrongdoing that got me in this program. And I don't regret it, because I mean, that's my morals. That's my integrity. You know, I, I just, if I would have just kept my mouth shut and then, but I would have eroded my soul,
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I certainly understand what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. And I've been tempted a couple of times, like, okay, well, just to get rid of the torture, get rid of the torture. Okay, I for like a half a second I thought, okay, I'll be a part of this program. But then I'm like, I can't do that. I can't, I don't have that in me. I don't, that's not who I am. I could never harm another human being, ever, ever. Can never hurt another human being.
At the level of some of this and what they do against us and the mediocrity of what it is, I mean, it's really not, some of it is very not, it's not even clever. And it's so redundant and so transparent and phony at that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure that how many of us have thought, well, if I was doing this, I could have done a better job than this, because this is really stupid, but
Yeah.
I mean, really, I mean, but again, I'm like, I equate it to, well, it's the element that was enlisted in to do it too.
Well, and then you got all of the secret societies that are part of it too,
Mhm.
and they're evil. I actually was working with one of those people. They had the whole G thing on the back of their truck, and had the big G ring on and stuff, and I'm like, is it true what they say about these people, that they do this and this? Or I didn't even say that. He goes, that they do this and this. I go, yeah. He goes, yep, it's true. Yeah, it's true. And so, that was the time, that was the last time I was attacked, was working with that person. So working with that person who was very cruel on top of that. So very cruel. It's definitely, on the ground, it's those people too. I mean, they're
Yeah, stalking to me reminds me of a cult and a mafia type
Mhm.
of mentality, like mafia mentality. I studied that in the beginning too, because I wanted to understand that, and mind of a predator and a mind of a narcissist. It's all overlapping. All of it is kind of the same thing. The goal is to diminish and destroy and disable, the target, the subject of their, attention. And but with this patterning that they do with the gang stalking and everything, it really is this blind allegiance they have. And we don't know what they were let in with, and some it might not have even took much, right? So we know that too. But
Weak people, super weak.
because and again, with like a mafia mentality, the only way out is with, like, a chain cement block over the bridge, right? So once you're in, you can't get out of that.
Right.
But again, and I used to think, well, they made their bed and they just going to have to sit there and lay in it.
Uh-huh.
And but some people are brave enough to break out of that, going, they would rather do the right thing than to continue on as they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I really recommend that anybody that's involved in this to just put it down, just stop. Even if, I mean, I know that their families are probably being threatened and everything, but there's got to be another way. There's got to be another way to, and instead of torturing people 24/7, innocent people, there's got to be another way. There's got to just put it down. Turn
There,
turn your back on it.
absolutely. And because I believe in this, how generational curses can pass. You don't have to, just because you came into the world and your cards are kind of stacked up against you, you doesn't mean that you have to continue that pattern, right? And
Right,
the same
right.
thing goes with this experience. Be the one that stood up and did the
Mhm.
right thing, so that it doesn't have to carry over. and repeat itself. And, there is no excuse, getting your way out of karma. And, what have you're energetically put out against an innocent individual and what you've done. That's why I say that any wrongdoings that you've had, just, reconcile them with yourself and free up, and be forgiving of yourself and give yourself some grace. And then what you can do to really heal is just don't repeat those things, and to evolve as a person, and be a good human. And most of us, that's what we are. We just had this oppressive system invade our lives, and we're managing it from day to day and trying to still move the needle on our life and the movement and progression, and not let this experience rob us from having joy and laughter and love. And we deserve all these things.
Yep.
Do you have some advice before we go for our audience?
Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your dreams. Work hard. Work hard. Find something to learn. Find something to do. Don't bring to the table every day negativity. Try to bring some positivity into your life. If people don't believe you, then forget them. I mean, I know you can't forget your family, but just accept it. They're not going to understand. They're not going to believe you. Just don't talk to them. Don't tell them. Just try to live your life, even though it's a sad existence. I know I have family, and I'm being attacked, and I have to go eat dinner afterwards. I have to go eat dinner with them and talk about the weather. But that's just the way it is. My life. That's just the way my life is. So I would just say that just try to occupy your time with something positive.
You're a great example of creativity. You started to draw, expressing in art, in this creative outlet, your experience. And there's so much meaning behind what you have done and demonstrated in your artwork. I think creativity is really how we stay connected with ourselves. That is something that they cannot take from us. It is something that we have created with our own hands, and it's so important. And then always, try to find time for that inner child.
Yes.
Do something nostalgic, something through eyes of a child, and just have a little joy and fun, and you don't have.
And I would also look into some kind of visualization practice where you close your eyes and you try to have a visualization of you being protected in whatever way that works for you. Like for me, it was light and that, but for you, whatever protects you, and surround yourself with that light or that protector.
Absolutely. Well, it's been an absolute joy having you on the podcast today. We have a lot in common, and I love your energy and your upbeat, even though you've been through a gauntlet all around the world. And it also reminds me, you did mention that. I could just keep talking and talking. You did mention that when you, I think you had visited in 2014 Melanie with Akeda, right? And Ikatar, yes, I always get that wrong. It's just
I went to visit her in Belgium in 2014, and also whenever I was kicked out of Turkey, I took a flight to Munich and then a bus to her in Brussels. So I actually saw her 2 times. Yeah.
But when you were in Brussels, you didn't experience any torture there.
No. I mean, like I said, it takes them a little while to catch up with
you.
Yeah.
It also it makes you wonder if, it's like this global network, and so they have this process that they have to do to kind of
Yeah,
process
they
it
do.
out, because you've seen this pattern when you're
Uh-huh.
going from country to country. It takes them
Yeah.
a while to do the exchange almost.
Yeah.
And but ultimately, because I know a lot of, and Jason Lee mentions in his book that he wrote, that the relocation loop, because it just follows you wherever you go, and
Right.
we're just trying to get away from it.
Right.
And it, no matter where you go, and I found that even in my travels, it didn't matter
Yeah.
where I went, they could still, monitoring me, people with auditory effect, you might have some where it's not as, much, but it's still there. But I think that's always an important thing to mention to people that are just, uprooting themselves over and over again, and they don't have much, and it's so financially draining to do that too, that you found some, relief before they could catch up
For a
to.
little while, I mean, I was country hopping, trying to find peace, trying to find protection. And it would last, it depends on if they wanted to use me for experimentation or research. If they wanted to use me for research, then it was a good 2 years before they caught it. When they were finished with their research, then they're going to go in with the DEWs and torture me to leave that country to go to another country. So they were, so it felt like I was being, sold to this country, sold to that country for research purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I just decided I'm going home. I don't care if, what's going to happen. I gotta have peace. I gotta have peace. And, I still really don't have peace, but I've got a bit more than, I've got a bit now. So I'm happy about that. Thankful for that.
I appreciate that. You've been, for being so open and brave to share this story with others.
Thank you.
And I think that, sharing, what we've gone through, I also think it's a part of our healing too.
Yeah.
And because, we keep so much bottled up because so many people don't understand what it is to go
Right.
through this, the pain from the directed energy attacks and how debilitating they can be, and the burning and the pressure and the audio garbage, all of the sleep deprivation, the weird synchronicities and
Yeah.
coincidence, and I mean, you just can't make this mess up. And there's so many of us that are saying the same thing, so we know it's the truth, but it
Yeah,
does
we
help.
know.
It's very therapeutic to just get it out there, and
Yeah.
you realize just what stuff you're made of, and you're still standing
Yeah.
in spite of
Well,
it.
I would also like to send well wishes to Anna and Richard that are going to Washington this next week, and just keep them in my prayers that they're successful out there, and
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really honored that you had me on your show, Melissa. It's such a special week, right? It's TI week was a couple of days ago. TI Day,
Yes, 29.
National TI Day was on the 29th, and so it's a good time for me to be on your show. And thank you so much for having me. And
Yes,
I really
thank
enjoyed
you.
it. Let's keep in
Yes,
touch. Okay.
yes, absolutely. And thank you all who tuned in. And as always, the replay will be available on the Chosen Heroes YouTube channel. It'll be on X and Rumble. And then Sean will also create some short videos from today's broadcast. So again, thank you everyone who tuned in. And thank you, Wendy. It's been a delight. And everyone have a safe and good Labor Day tomorrow. And thanks again. I really appreciate it. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Melissa.
Bye.